Welcome to Spotlights and Shadows with Isabel Caglione. Behind every extraordinary life, there are good moments, but also difficult times, difficult decisions, and shadows that eventually turn into light. Each episode, we uncover those stories, the struggles, the hope, and the truth. I'm Isabel Caglione, and this is Spotlights and Shadows. Hi everyone, welcome to Spotlights and Shadows with Isabel Caglione. This is the second episode with Sandra Arenas about her brother with the tragedy death. And it's a powerful, we're gonna have a very powerful and painful episode. Thank you, Sandra, for being here.
Thank you, Isabel, for having me again.
My pleasure. Can you take us back to the day that you received the phone call?
That day I will never forget, and it plays back over and over again. It's going to be almost 2 years since he's been gone, which I still can't believe. I still wake up saying, oh my God, my brother's gone. And that's a constant replaying in my mind. I received the call on May 13, 2024, the day after Mother's Day, at 9:03 at night. And why that's important is because his wife called me at 9:03. They were going to get a divorce, and that had been going on for a while, the decision to file for divorce. But she called at 9:03 telling me that my brother was dead and that he drowned. I in my head, I couldn't comprehend that. It just wasn't comprehensible. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand, or I didn't want to understand. I didn't want to hear it. Eventually, once we got to Florida, after that call, I called my daughters. Gabby was already there with my granddaughter Ava, and she called Francesca, who lived 10 minutes away, and she showed up. Everything happened so quickly after that. We arrived in Florida, I think around, 8 or 9 in the morning, and we went directly to my parents' house, and from there we went to my brother's lake house. And it still seemed like a dream, not real. Just not understanding what happened. Later on, we discovered that that the call at 9:03 was not when he died, that apparently he died around 3:30 in the afternoon.
And they didn't tell you why? It's a 5 hours and a half different. What happened in that 5 hours and a half? Why they didn't call the family?
They said, so they recovered my brother's body, I believe around 5 or 6. And 5 or 6 o'clock, they recovered my brother's body. She said that the police told her not to call, but yet she called her friend, her close friend, and her daughter called her boyfriend and some other people of theirs. And the reason I know this is because it was all over the news. Around 3:30, 3:43, or around that time, it was all over the news. All I can think of, thank God my parents were not watching TV, because I could just imagine getting that, because then afterwards they named my brother David Arenas, former police officer of the Orlando Police Department, in the news. And my nieces, he has 5 daughters, none of them knew yet, because I got the call at 9:03. And her friend called one of my nieces, and she had to call the rest of her sisters. And I called my parents. That was the hardest call ever.
I can imagine something like that.
My mom, it's as if she knew. My mom says, tell me what happened to my son. And I was like, Mom, tell me what happened to my son. She knew. It's like she just knew. And then my father said, tell me so I can pray, so he can be okay. And I said, it's too late. Those are the words that I still remember
Yeah.
out of that call. I stood later on. His wife, did not tell us what actually happened. We didn't know. She didn't talk to anyone. She didn't talk to my parents. She just went radio silent. Her daughter, radio silent. And so we had the funeral. And at the funeral, when this is the first time we saw his body. And he had injuries on his cheek, his neck, all on the right side, and his ear. And his right hand appeared to be broken. I say broken, it just seemed distorted. Mm-hmm. His bones seemed distorted. So the official cause of death was in the autopsy report said accidental drowning. When we got the autopsy report, it said that pre-mortem that he had injuries. Now, the injuries did not cause his death. It was the actual drowning. But why did he have those injuries when there are pictures of him on the day that he died, not even an hour before he allegedly died, because I questioned the time frame. Mm-hmm. There were no injuries on his face, none whatsoever. But that's what, so the autopsy report said about the injuries, and then his lungs. Now, I'm not a medical examiner, I'm not a doctor, I'm a lawyer. But according to people who read people who are familiar with the report and who know a little bit more than I do, said that his lungs were not filled with water as it should be if you drown, because you're swallowing all this water. Mm-hmm. And normally in a drowning, you would have debris in your mouth, debris in your trachea. There was no debris. In the autopsy report, it doesn't show no debris, no hemorrhaging.
So it's like he was unconscious, like when he went to the water.
That's what it appears, that he could have been unconscious or he was already dead. That's our conclusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the reason I say our conclusion is because nobody has done any further investigation.
Well, you're talking about the autopsy, is the report.
Right.
And so when I know when they went to the restaurant, you were talking, I saw the video you showed me. When they went to the restaurant, there is an hour difference. Yes. Between the time that they said they went to the water, when they leave in the restaurant. Yes. There is the record.
Yes. So when we got so under the Freedom Information Act, mm-hmm. we requested the police reports, everything that we could get that was not exempt. We requested the videos, the 911 call, the interviews. I say interviews because it was not an interrogation. At times, it seems like the interviews, they're having fun when they were questioning as to what happened.
Can I ask you,
Sure.
how long was the interview between all of them?
It happened, I think, 2 weeks after almost. Or maybe a week after the accident.
Yeah.
It didn't happen right away.
But how long was each interview?
They're about an hour. They're
with
long.
With
each one of them.
Okay.
I would say about an hour, maybe each one of them. But I'm glad you asked that question. In one of the interviews, his stepdaughter's stepmom from her father's wife, she was translating for her instead of hiring or retaining
somebody professional.
A professional translator.
Yeah.
So at times, instead of this woman making her statement, it was the stepdaughter that was making the statement. She was answering her questions.
That's the first time that I heard that.
And then
because usually in police and courts,
right.
There is somebody
right.
That is not connecting with the case, and especially mm-hmm. professional.
So with her mother's interview, she's the one that's translating also. And then for her father's interview, they had a police officer who understood Portuguese, but she was not a professional translator. It's like me translating. Yes, I speak Spanish, but I'm not a translator. I'm not a professional translator, so they didn't have a professional translator. And at times they didn't know how to translate or say a certain word. So the interviews were a joke. It seemed to me it was just a formality.
So the first time was 4 of them together?
No, separate.
Separate.
But with 2 of the interviews, the daughter
was okay.
My brother's stepdaughter. One thing I wanted to go back a little bit.
Sure.
Is when with the 911 call, and they made the 911 call around 3:43. Allegedly, they were in the middle of the water at 3:30, and it happened immediately, according to their testimony. But when you had said the tiki bar, ADT, cloud-based video shows 2:23 that he got up from the seat. That's the last time you see him alive. And he walks towards the dock to the boat. And you're right, there's a 1 hour difference. You know what the police said? And this is the Lake County Sheriff's Office and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation. They said that it was a glitch. And the state's attorney from Florida said it was a glitch. I said, an hour glitch? And then they said, well, the daughter had the 360. 360, yes, it did show that they were in the middle of the lake at 3:30. It did say that. But what happened an hour? No explanation. So they were an hour in the water. This happened at 3:30. When they said that they got to the middle of the lake at 3:30, and immediately my brother decided to run across the boat and jump in the water. Now, I showed you how small the boat is.
Yes.
There's no way that you're going to run. And plus, my brother wouldn't run.
There is almost no place to run. It's a small, and there were 5 people in the boat.
Exactly.
And I'm going to ask you this question that is around my mind from this case. There is a video that I think the stepdaughter or his wife who was recorded, and she posted, or that your brother is in the boat.
Oh, is this the one where he's showing about having the safety?
Oh no,
you're talking about when they were in the boat. It was a drone that was showing her driving the boat, moving the boat, and the anchor.
Yes.
Yes. That's the drone. Supposedly, there was a drone. Not supposed, I should say. There was a drone. The police had sent out a drone, and that's when she was in the 911 call. And she's talking, and they're talking about his wife that was sitting there that seemed distraught, and then the father sitting down, and then she's moving the anchor, and then she's saying that she doesn't know how to drive the boat, but she does drive the boat.
Yeah, and then in the phone call, you said she said that the boat is moving, and the ankle it was in the water.
The boat wasn't moving.
Yeah,
there was an anchor, right? There's so many discrepancies. One of them is in the 911 call. She says that her father is dying, that he almost drowned, and he can't breathe, but you see him sitting and speaking. You can hear him in the background speaking. So if he was drowning himself. So the reason that's important, because they said that in each of the stories, because they all have different stories, and one story is that my brother ran and jumped in the water, and then the stepdaughter's father jumped in the water, and they were swimming and just fine. The second story is that he ran into the water, and the stepfather, and immediately when they both jumped, not one and then the other, they both jumped in this one.
At the same time.
Yes, they both jumped this one, and that they both immediately started having problems, and they were having difficulties staying above water. Now the water was not wavy. It was not, how do you call it? I can't
Yeah,
think of the
I
word.
saw the video with the
It was
drum
the
that you
word.
can see even people around the
Right.
lake.
So it was not choppy, like they said. Eventually, later on, it did get when they were trying to recover my brother's body. So that's one story. The other story that her father said when he went when they took him from the ambulance, he said that he jumped in the water and he was having difficulty swimming, and my brother jumped in to save him.
So there is 3 different stories.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, there's another one too. There's a fourth one that eventually his wife did come to speak to my father and mother, and she said that she was sitting there and David was in the water, and then he was asking for help, and his hands were up. And my father said, "And you didn't go in there and save him?" And then she stayed shut. The reason why that's important is because in one of the interviews, they asked the daughter, "Does your mother know how to swim?" And she goes, "Oh no, he only doggy paddle." She does the doggy paddle, where actually she's an avid swimmer. She swims at night and jumps in the lake. She can hold her breath for long periods of time. So why would she say that?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why as we delved into the interviews, the 911 call where again she says her father is dying, he can't breathe. There's a video of him in the hospital. He's fine. He's sitting there. They have an IV. He wants to go to the bathroom. He walks to the bathroom. If a man was dying, drowning, he would not be in that great condition. 2 days after my brother's death, you see them, the father and her mother, my brother's wife, and the stepdaughter at her graduation, and he looks absolutely fine, and they're smiling.
I'm gonna ask you this question. You said, I'm gonna go a little bit back when you said that your brother was divorcing his wife. You were helping him, I
Yes.
believe. He asked you for present the divorce and all the
Yes.
papers. As an attorney, as always, helping everybody.
Yes.
So do you know why he was in the boat with his ex-wife? He was divorcing with his stepdaughter, the ex-husband of the wife that he was divorcing. Do you know something about?
So what?
Because it looks like
I
you know your
why
brother.
Right. So why wouldn't, right. So my brother is a person that you can, if he's feeling a certain way after you talk to him and you make him feel bad, he's gonna do what you ask him because you make him feel bad. So
Does somebody tell him to do it?
apparently his wife's best friend, this guy, that's also questionable, called him and said, "Don't be mean. You know, her father is here for her graduation. You had your daughter's graduation party at the house. Don't be such a mean guy. Why don't you just take in the boat? Just do something for them. You don't have to have a party. At least do something. Don't be mean." And he did. That's why.
Okay.
Because a lot of things were happening in the house. There was a lot of turmoil, and he decided to get divorced. I did the paperwork. So there was a prenup, which we could never find. But in the text that he sent me, I asked him, "Are you going to leave her anything?" He says, "No, I'm going to pay for her. We have a prenup. I'm going to pay for her apartment for 6 months. And I'm going to let her have the car for 6 months until she gets on her feet." So if they would have gotten divorced, she wouldn't have been able to take anything of his. There was also a letter that he had that we found where he was changing his life insurance policy. She did not want the divorce because she was the house, the way she lived, the lake house, the boat, and she did not work. She was supposed to start working and she didn't. and she was supposed to, I forgot what it was, take some classes or something for something she was going to do, and she didn't do it. She was supposed to leave May 1st, and she didn't leave. She made some excuse.
And he passed away 14 days after that. Okay, I have another question for you. Tell me if it's hard for you, because I know this is have to be most very difficult for you, because even the almost past 2 years, I understand, but we talk, and a lot of questions come to my mind. There is a video that was taken in the boat that your brother was sitting next to the
His
father.
stepdaughter's father.
Yeah, that's though. And do you see that he was happy? I know your brother from pictures and videos, and he always was smiling and a great energy. Do you think he was happy when you saw? Because I thought it was not him.
He looked fed up. He looked annoyed, like he was done. Yeah, you're right.
That video was maybe minutes before he died.
I don't know if it was, I think that video was when they were going towards the tiki bar. Or
Okay.
There were two restaurants that he went. I don't know the name of the first one, but the last one where he was last seen alive was the tiki bar. That's the other thing about all this. When you go back, and why I'm so grateful that you're doing this, and bringing all this to light, because we've had trouble getting any authority in Florida to investigate, to really investigate. They shut us down in every request we've made. They shut us down. I hired investigators because of this, and they shut them down. And they're former detectives from Florida. But one thing that just stands out is from the minute they got the 911 call at 3:43, and I don't know why they waited so long, right? That's the other thing. At 3:43, the call, by the time they got to shore, it was around, I think it was around 5:48 or something like that. Say approximately 2 hours later, they didn't even wait for to recover my brother's body. By that time, they closed the case in 2 hours as accidental drowning. After they spoke with her, there's a report that shows closed 2 hours after. So there's a 3:43 911 call. Then they come to shore. They question them. The police question his wife, the stepdaughter, and they closed it right there. It shows in the report from the police officer, accidental drowning. They did not wait for his body. Now, when I requested all the reports from under the Freedom of Information Act, in one of the reports, which I did not expect, which was very, I don't even know how to explain how I felt, but I think I remember telling you that as I'm looking through the reports, his picture, when they recovered him from the water, there was his body. And at first I couldn't, for quite some time, I just could not look at his picture. But afterwards I forced myself. And then that's when I noticed, again, there were bruises here and his ear, and there was blood around his ear, and it was not coming from inside his ear. And then the bruising here and his hand and the blood. Now they said normally it's white foam when you're drowning, and that was not white foam, it was thick blood. And I keep looking at it to see what else I find, because now I can. I don't know why, but I just see him. I know that's his body, but he's my brother.
Sandra, you look at it because you want answers.
Right.
You want to find something. It's I'm in shock about that they closed the case in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's just it's unbelievable.
That's
because nobody they even didn't bring all the people to ask questions,
No.
to know what happened.
No, they only asked the questions they came to talk to us, but they thought that we just were against his wife. And we told them that we had questions, we had concerns. And we didn't know yet what they had spoken with his wife, the stepdaughter, the father, and his wife. We didn't know, but they refused. They didn't call other people because she said that she didn't know how to drive. But there are witnesses where they saw the boat at that time, and she was doing zigzags. She had moved. We believe from where everything happened. Mm-hmm. It wasn't where they found them. I don't believe that's where they were. And she was doing zigzags, which I didn't understand what that was, but apparently boaters know what that means.
Yeah, but for example, and the phone call, you showed me the 911. She said that she didn't know how to drive the boat. Then she said the officer and the call said you have to put the ankles in the water. So she said okay, and we saw it in the drone video that the ankle is in the water. They put it out in the water, but then she said in the phone call that she wants to drive the boat because the boat was moving and the storm was coming or something like that. Yeah. So how the boat, for me, that was like, how the boat is moving. It has the ankle and then it's moving around. And then she said in the beginning, I don't know how to drive the boat. We can't go to the shore. Yes. But then she was driving the boat.
I know.
So it's something I understand you and your family about the questions.
There are a lot of questions, right? The other thing is that when they recovered my brother's body, he didn't have his watch, nor his police blue rubber band. Now, if he was going to jump in the water because he wanted to swim, yes, he would remove his watch. But why would he remove his blue line rubber? It does a rubber bracelet. He wouldn't. And say if in fact that he was actually trying to save this man, why would he wouldn't just take off everything and then jump. No, he would have jumped.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. The other thing is that the police said to me that the injuries could have been because the guy was trying to save him and that he pulled from the back of his shirt. Now the shirt that my brother had is those lightweight shirts that get wet, and if he were to have been in the water, this would have gone up. And if he would have tried to save him, there would have been lines here. Yeah, There were no lines in front. It was all on the side.
Yeah, I saw.
He said that it's not that he grabbed him. No, he pulled him from the shirt.
So what are you fighting for now? Why? And two questions. How can the police can open the case again? Because it was too short, 2 hours. I think everybody can say that. So what are you fighting now, and how can you open it?
We've been fighting for the police to really look at the case, to interview them again with all the inconsistencies.
The police from
Lake County Sheriff's Office,
okay,
or the Florida Law Department. We asked them, they didn't do it. Everyone has been gaslighting us. They say they're going to look at it, and they don't look at it. And you know what's ironic is my brother gave his life, 28 years of his life, to the police force, a police officer with awards, accolades, so many accomplishments. His last job was in charge of 200 police officers in the Orlando International Airport to protect others.
Yeah.
And yet here, a retired lieutenant from the Orlando Police Department, and that nobody wants to find out, nobody wants to go a little bit further, just a little bit further,
yeah.
Review the inconsistencies. We don't know what happened. But the fact is, I know my brother. This is another thing that I didn't mention, and we had discussed this before. My brother was all about safety, but yet in that boat there was only one life vest, and they couldn't find it. They said, and there was the fire. I forgot the fire extinguisher. It wasn't there either. So my brother always made sure, when I spoke to his friends, because I wanted to know what happened, more about my brother. What did he do customarily? Because I know he had OCD. Everything had to be a certain way.
And I know people like that.
So if he was going to jump, if he was going to think of going into the water, he would have had his swimming trunks. He didn't have his swimming trunks. He was never going to go in the water. Plus, it was May. He would not jump in the water if it's not hot, only if it was hot. He's not one to do that. But they didn't want to know anything about that. They didn't want to look into it's called the victimology of the person that died. They didn't want to know anything about him. They just took the word of people who did not give accurate information.
Yeah, because if you say everybody say the same, I understand you, because if somebody comes and tell me 4 different stories, obviously I'm gonna say, okay, what happened here? Because it's a lot of different stories.
So imagine the state's attorney for that county said, it is not enough to reopen just because we have inconsistent statements. So they kept saying, what, you want us to charge them with murder? I said, no. What I want you to, first of all, I know we don't have, as an attorney, I know that. But what you can do is, with those inconsistent statements, go back and re-interview them.
Everybody.
But they said they can't do that because they're going to say they're harassing them. So they kept...
They were in a boat with somebody die.
I know. And one of their own. That's what I find shocking. My mother wants answers. My father wants answers. My nieces want answers. We all, my children, my family, we all want answers. There's so many things that just doesn't seem to just connect. And that's why we've been fighting.
And why the police, going back a little bit, because I have, in the time that you talk, it's like I have more questions. Why the police told your brother's wife to not call you?
I don't, that's what she said.
Because the police always is what they do the first is contacting the family, right? For any case. And so that's what she said. Not the police. The police didn't tell you.
They didn't say anything. And I don't know what they said.
But to you.
But
or to your
they
family.
didn't tell us, they didn't tell us anything.
Okay.
One thing, as far as she said, that the police told her not to call, but yet, why would she call her friend? The one that told my brother to take them on the boat. That's the friend that she called. And that's the person that called my niece. So, but yet, there were a couple of people that they had called, their friends, but did not call the family. And she had seen my mom on Mother's Day. That day my mom was with my brother. And my parents saw that they were having a little bit like, they were acting fine, but they knew something was different, obviously.
Even talking after almost, it's going to be 2 years in May. I remember the time that you called me. There was right away. And then when I heard the next day that he passed away, about 6 hours before you got the phone call, that day for me was like, I was telling my family, I was in Uruguay at that time, and I was telling my family how that happened, how she find out almost 6 hours later. And so, there is...
It was so, because had they told the girls would have gone to the hospital, would have waited for his body to be recovered, would have gone to the hospital. I know he was gone, but his daughters would have been there for them, right? But no, she did not give that opportunity. And it's interesting enough because in the interview, she told them they were having problems, but she didn't say that they were getting divorced.
Yeah, and do you have the text message when he said that he had the prenup?
Yes, and she lied up. So we had to go to probate because of the house. He died intestate. So the day he died, 2 days after, he was going to meet with my financial advisor because he was going to change everything. But he didn't. So which meant that if you die intestate, half goes to his daughters and the rest goes to her. She came out with about $200,000 or more, $300,000.
And the life insurance, it was under her
Give
name?
it to her.
Okay.
She got the life insurance. And she lied about, while we were in court, she lied about 3 times about the prenup. Then she had to admit it because we had in the police report, she told the police about the prenup.
She told them before. And then she lied.
Because we found it.
Okay, so that you have a lot. I understand that that's the reason that you're looking for so many answers. You have many questions and you need answers.
Yes.
So everything after what that happened, and you have the investigators, the private investigator, how do you feel that you as an attorney and looking for justice all the time and helping others, and I know in this state you are doing an incredible job doing that. How do you feel that even when your brother was working and giving everything for everybody, and how do you feel that they don't open the case, they didn't give time? That's the truth. 2 hours closing up a case is just ridiculous for me, is my opinion. And how do you feel about that?
Angry. Angry at the system that I represent. Angry that the system failed my brother, who he represented, that he gave his life to. I've been in public service for over 30-something years, and in the role that I am now, I hear these stories from other people, and I try to help, whether it's to connect them with the right agency, the right people, and hounding them to see who can help, because I can do that. And I can't even help myself in the position that I hold. I can't do anything for myself because, you can't use you can't use what you do, your title, but I'm still an attorney. So I can still ask questions. I can still use my attorney mind, which...
And this is not just about like by yourself, but helping yourself, helping your brother that he deserve, and the people that he was working and protecting there. I can imagine that's what I asking you is.
It hurts. It hurts that his life meant something. He deserves better. He deserves better. My parents deserve better. My nieces deserve better. And they have not gotten that from anybody. All they've gotten is just doors shut. My investigators, doors shut. So it makes me, it's like, how can I continue representing the system that I represent when it has failed us? And I question that all the time. And then I get angry. But then my daughter says, Mom, because you can help. Even though you can't help yourself, at least you can help others. So that's what keeps you going. And she's right. And that makes, I understand what she said. She had to say that to me many times because there are times that I just want to give up because I'm just so devastated. But I pray that someone decides to look at this, to really look at what happened. Did it really happen that way? What they said with 4 different stories, it just doesn't make sense. And the different things that they said were not true. The one thing that I failed to tell you is that the daughter asked the detective in the interview, asked the detective, so did you get the autopsy report? And he said yes. And then she goes on to say, will it show whether he had a stroke, a heart attack? Was he hit or poisoned?
Oh, wow.
That right there is like, you would have thought the detective would have said, well, wait a minute. Why are you asking that?
And any Deadline episode you're going to find is somebody else and say, wait a minute, because that's kind of strange.
Do you think they would?
No.
The video from the Tiki Bar, that's cloud-based, ADT. They said that 1 hour difference is a glitch. So I am not a tech person.
Mm-hmm.
I think a minute, a second glitch, maybe, but an hour? Don't you want to question that? Don't you want to go back to the 360 and look? Really look? Not just look at 360, 330, that's where they were, in the middle of the lake. Because yes, they were in the middle of the lake. That's true. None of that. It just breaks my heart that they think that my brother's life is not worth anything. That they don't think that they believe that there's nothing to investigate, or that there's nothing to look at. When you know as well as I do, sometimes you get the person with inconsistent statements. Mm-hmm. That is important. That is enough to go back.
Especially for different stories. We have the drum video. We have the video from the boat when they were in the boat. She didn't know how to drive the boat, and then she was driving the boat. And nobody can find out how to drive in 30 minutes and learn.
Right.
So many things.
So many. It's like, oh, when she says that her father's dying, he can't breathe.
And he
he's
was
lying,
talking.
He was sitting and he was talking in
Yeah.
the 911 call. There's so many things. The
autopsy about the water, he didn't have enough water. And
sufficient water that he should have,
yeah.
considering if he drowned and swallowed so much water. If he
The
was alive
bruise
or
is
conscious.
we're not talking about a small bruise.
No.
I saw the pictures. I have when you asked me, I said, okay, I want to see it. And it's a bruise on the all side here. And all the blood, like you said, is not coming from his ear inside.
Right.
And it's...
And they didn't do, one thing, they didn't do an x-ray of his head. Because even though they did an autopsy, you wouldn't see a hairline fracture. You wouldn't see anything like that with just the autopsy. You would need x-rays. They didn't do that. There are a lot of things that they didn't do. They also told my investigator that since the police officers told them it was a drowning, they just did, they did the usual, the regular autopsy, and that's it. But then when I spoke with her and I questioned her, she goes, oh, no, that's not true. But yet that's what they said to my investigator. So which story is true? It just doesn't, none of this makes sense. We just want the truth. Mm-hmm. We don't believe what they're saying is the truth because of the inconsistent statements. And mind you, if none of this was happening and it was an accident, okay. But why so many different stories?
I have two last questions. One of my questions is why you said before that the police told you and they ask again or they do an interrogation again, they can be harassment when it's an open investigation.
I know. I don't know.
But that's true. You are an attorney.
No. Questioning, I would say no. Questioning or re-questioning, going over the interview to then go back and ask questions that did not seem clear, it's not harassment.
So the police from Orlando...
Well, not Orlando. It's the Lake County Sheriff's Office.
They told you that?
Yes.
Because I'm seeing all the time when they open, we saw in the core channel of any, they open a new investigation,
right.
and they have interview everybody.
Right.
And you go and you have your testimony, and it's true, it's going to be always the same thing, right?
Right.
So that for me is kind of...
It is. They did give us a 2-hour meeting, Lake County Sheriff's Office. But you know, when they gave us that meeting, and where my nieces, we all went to talk to them, they had already closed the case. When we looked at the report, they had already closed it. They weren't going to reopen. So that's where
So they don't wait for the family?
No. So that interview was just a waste of time. Everything that we did with them, waiting and waiting upon them, and waiting, was a waste of time, because they were not going to do anything. They had already made up their mind.
Wow,
and
I'm
everyone
so
from there
sorry.
on.
My last question for you: if your brother can hear you now, what are you gonna tell him?
We miss him. We love him, and we wish he was here with us, because we needed him so much.
I'm sure he's around in your heart and taking care the families and be an angel, taking care of other angels and your family, like we believe, and we just want justice and find out the answers for your questions, for your family questions.
Thank you.
Oh, Sandra, thank you so much again for sharing your story, to open your heart.
Thank you.
And I know this is so hard for you, but we have to do it.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Whoever is watching this podcast, Spotlights and Shadows with Isabel Calione, please, she needs answers. And closing a case in 2 hours, it doesn't make sense at all. There have to be a way to open this case and find out what happened to David Arenas. And he has daughters, grandchildren, and a mom, a dad, a sister that's suffering. His daughters miss him and just want answers. Justice have to be on their side to find out, like Sandra says, if it really was an accident, fine, it was an accident. But what we discussed today, that shows several inconsistencies. So I hope this gets to someone that can do something about it. Thank you for watching this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. Here with me today. Follow Spotlights and Shadows on all platforms. And you can also find me on Instagram by Isa Calione, on Facebook by Isabel Calione. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Spotlights and Shadows with Isabel Calione, so you never miss an episode. Thank you. Ciao.